Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I'm joined by Penn State sophomore Rachel Weiss. Welcome to the podcast, Rachel, and how's everything going?
It's going pretty well, thanks.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Now, I want to ask you about this year's college hockey season for a bit. Obviously, it's been a little bit different than normal. What are some of the challenges you have faced this year, and how have you tried to overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a season like no other. For myself, I actually didn't come back in the fall semester, just because I didn't know, like, with eligibility if we would lose a year or not. So, just personally, I made the decision to go to Sweden for that start of the year. But now I am back at Penn State, and I've played, I guess, 6 games so far. So it's definitely been an adjustment all around, but it's really cool that we're still able to play at least.
Yeah, definitely. There's been many schedule changes that have happened throughout the season. How do you mentally stay prepared for all those changes in your schedule, and what's the key for maintaining flexibility for this season?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we just have to take it day by day and just be grateful for the games and practices that we do get. We've been pretty fortunate. I guess we've had one weekend that's been postponed due to one of the other teams we were playing. But all in all, we've been pretty lucky so far, and just being grateful for what we have and taking it day by day, I think, has been really good.
Yeah, and you obviously haven't played in front of any fans this year. How have you adjusted to that? And has that been an adjustment for yourself? Because watching some of your games, I can see the cardboard cutouts. How have you tried to adapt to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little strange, but we do a really good job as a team, sort of hyping each other up on the bench. So that's been a big part of it. And I know for us, at least at our home games, we're allowed to have 2 comp tickets. So we've had quite a few parents at least come and watch. So at least it's not empty.
Definitely, definitely. I know not many schools are doing that too, so that must be lucky for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my parents are over in Western Canada, so they're not able to come out, but it's still nice having like the teammates' parents around and stuff.
Definitely. Now, 3-on-3 overtime has also been introduced to college hockey this year. What is that like being an offensive player and having more space on the ice and having more opportunities to score goals?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's nice that our league adapted that in because last year I believe it was a 4-on-4. So it's nice that it's 3-on-3 now, and there's just more time and space and allows for some more creativity. So I'm glad they did that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I love it as a fan. 4-on-4 overtime is not as exciting as 3-on-3, and plus, I hate ties, so that's a cool element that they eliminated out of the game, which is a big fan of mine. But also, I think it makes you defensively more sound because if you make one little defensive mistake, it can cause an odd man rush.
Yeah, for sure. And then I guess for us, the one thing I wish they would change is we don't have a shootout right now. So I wish the CHA would kind of adapt that and make it so that if no one scores in that overtime, that we can go to a shootout instead of just keeping our games at ties.
I didn't know that. I thought most all the leagues adapted to the shootout. I didn't know the CHA still did just 3-on-3 and then that's it.
Yeah, no, I thought they were going to this year, but they added the 3-on-3, but it's still just ended in a tie. Like we ended in a tie this past weekend, one of our games, and it just stayed at the tie.
Yeah, that stinks. I don't like ties. I'm assuming as a player that's not fun either.
Yeah, definitely not.
Now, being a sophomore this year, what type of leadership have you tried to bring to the team, especially with the big freshman class that is in there now?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have a big freshman class, and I think that just overall, we're all trying to bring each other up. And like, I know for myself, just trying to bring a good attitude and a good effort every single day and sort of lead by example for them and show them all about what Penn State hockey is like. But I think that our freshman class has been great coming in and working really hard. And they've just really helped with our culture, like shaping it to become where it is now and growing to get better every day.
Yeah, are you more of a lead by example type of player or vocal leader? I know you're a sophomore, but
Mhm.
just because with the big freshman class, you're kind of in that leadership position that most sophomores aren't in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the middle, I think. Like I definitely try to lead by example, but I'm not super vocal, but I'll chime in here and there, I guess, when I feel that it's needed.
Yeah, and did you learn anything from past leaders when you were a freshman that have helped your leadership skills today?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, last year we didn't have set captains. We had like 6 assistants, so it was like not as down to it, but this year like our captains are doing really great job and it's like fun to watch them and they're doing a great job of keeping everyone on track and together. So I applaud them for that.
Now, what has been the biggest improvement you've made to your game this season?
I think I spent a lot of time over the off season just working on like my speed and my shot, and so I think I'm just like more comfortable shooting it now this year at this level, and I think that's been helpful.
Now, Penn State is obviously one of the top teams in the country this season. How do you try to deal with all the pressure being a top team for this year's college hockey season?
Yeah, I mean, I think just as a team, we're taking it week by week and practice by practice. Like, there's no days off, and just bringing our best efforts every day and sort of leaving it all out on the ice and making it just that we don't have anything we can um, be mad at ourselves for not giving. So I think just taking it one step at a time is going to help us.
Now, do you feel any pressure being a ranked team for the first time?
I mean, a little bit because now that we're at that position, obviously we want to stay there and we want to climb higher. So, from that sense, like, I guess a bit of pressure just to show that this is not just like a lucky thing and that we deserve to be here and that we're going to work to stay here and keep climbing, I guess.
Now, the national tournament this year is going to be a little bit different, I guess, because they don't really know how to select some of the teams because of the pairized rankings. How do you try to convince those people that are selecting the tournament that Penn State deserves to get in?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that comes since we can only play in our conference that sort of the other top teams in our conference, we have to do well against them. So, like, for the CHA, that would be Syracuse, Mercyhurst, and Robert Morris, probably. So, those games are especially key for us just to show them, I guess, that we can dominate and, like, stay at the top.
Yeah, and recently your team beat Mercyhurst in the series. How would you evaluate your team's performance in those games, and how are you going to use it for the rest of the season?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said before, our team just does a really good job of working together. And like, I think that's been key this year. We're all in and we'll give it our best efforts. So I think just being all on the same page and like doing those key little things like the hard back pressure and defensive zone coverage and then also adding in the offense, it's sort of just been reliant on trusting each other and working together.
Now, you just had a series against Lindenwood this weekend or last weekend. What are some of the differences you noticed about your team versus this year versus last year playing in that series? Because you had a very successful series yourself, getting some points to help your team get the victory.
Yeah, I mean, this past weekend was a bit of an up and a down. Like we won the first game by a few goals, so I think we might have gotten a little bit complacent. And then the next day we did end up tying, which was a bit of a letdown. But I think we did still play hard, and they did a really good job at shutting us down and sort of getting in our way. So I mean, just learning from that, we definitely just overall it's better from last year in the sense that we're working hard and not giving up on any plays and like staying in the game the whole time, but at the same time, just kind of growing off that and learning what we can do to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I think something I've noticed from your team last year versus this season is you guys are sweeping series instead of splitting series, which is a big thing in college hockey. Is that something that you have noticed personally?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, last year I think we tied, oh, I don't know. I want to say probably half of our games or more. Like we were tying a lot. So definitely this year having that switch has been different and good, and we want to keep heading in the direction of not splitting and sweeping instead.
Now, since you entered the team this year a little bit later than normal, what are some of the differences I guess you did preparing for this season than last year with the team?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit different obviously coming in January just because most of the team had already been together for the whole fall. So started jumping in there. Me and a couple other girls came in January. So I don't know. I mean, for me, it was nice that I was at least able to be playing before I came here. But everyone was super great, like when I came in and really welcoming to all of us. So it was pretty easy to jump back in.
Now, what's it like to play in the CHA versus other conferences you have played in? Because it's kind of a smaller conference, I've noticed.
Yeah, it definitely is one of the smaller conferences, but I don't know. I think it's good. I really can't wait for next year. Hopefully, we'll be able to play out of conference just because it would be cool to sort of like benchmark ourselves against some of those other top teams now and see where we're really at. And I think that'll be like an even bigger test for us.
Now, transitioning, I want to start talking about the beginning of your hockey career. You're from Calgary, Alberta. Talk about growing up in Canada and how did you start playing hockey?
Yeah, so I actually didn't start playing hockey until I was in grade 6, and that's, I guess, a decently late start for most kids. Most start when they're like super young, but how I started was a couple of my good friends at school. They played girls hockey, and I just wanted to play, I guess, the same sport as them. And I've always just loved like all sports, so it took a lot of convincing. I had to like beg my parents for probably a few years. Honestly, I had to make like a list of like 10 things or like 20 things I would do if they let me play hockey and sort of like convince them that way. But it turned out all right, so I'm glad they let me start.
Definitely, definitely. Now, who was your favorite player growing up?
Growing up, it was Sidney Crosby. Yeah.
Yeah, what part of his game do you admire the most?
I mean, he's a pretty complete player all around. Like he's just fun to watch, like two-way and can finish, obviously score goals, but also like just a really good playmaker as well as skater. He's kind of the full package, so I think that's why I was always intrigued watching him.
Now, starting hockey a bit later than most kids, did you have any catching up you had to do developmentally starting your game?
Yeah, I mean, I had already like I knew how to skate, so I think that was definitely like a plus, but I guess sort of just the puck skills and all that took probably a bit of catching up to do, but I don't know. I guess like I have a sport court at home in my backyard, so I was fortunate in that to like be able to get out and practice a ton, and I think that sort of helped me catch up in a way.
Yeah, and before Penn State, you played for the Pursuit of Excellence female prep school. How did you get the opportunity to play with that school?
Yeah, I knew a couple players there already, and my I knew the coach there already, so I had sort of we had talked about going for a few years, and then took a little bit of convincing again, but my dad finally was like, "All right, yep, let's do it." And honestly, that's probably the one of the best decisions I think that was made for me in my hockey growing up, and that was honestly like my 2 years there were two of my favorite ever. So I'm really glad I got the opportunity to go there.
Now, what was your favorite memory with that school?
Well, I don't know. Probably, I think it would be my second year. I'm pretty sure we were undefeated in our league play and like won everything. So that was probably the highlight of yeah, the second year.
Now, how did that school help prepare you for college hockey?
It actually probably helped a lot just in the sense that we were going to school and playing hockey for like credits, so we didn't have to go to a full day of school. So it's sort of similar to the university setup. And then hockey wise, like I was fortunate to play with a ton of like other really skilled and great players. So just being around them every day, and we would always push each other and like to be better. So I think that was really fortunate.
Now, you got to represent Canada in the World Junior Championships. What is the process for getting selected, and how did you find out you were going to be a part of that team?
Yeah, so that's a pretty long process. I guess in the fall, like or not the fall, in the spring before the selection like starts in the summer, you got just an invite, and that's like I believe it's a top 46 camp, summer camp, where the like 46 girls there, they've kind of narrowed it down to go. So that camp's in Calgary, and the first week is like inter squad. So there's two teams, and you're just practicing and playing against each other. And then at the end of that week, it's pretty nerve wracking. They have everyone in their hotel rooms, and like you see nobody, and you go down into like this room one at a time, and they pretty much either hand you your bags and like tell you to go on the bus and you're going to the airport, or they send you downstairs, which means like you've made the team. So I was fortunate enough to make the summer series team that week, which meant that you got to stay an extra week. So in that extra week, we played the US in a 3-game series. But then after that's done, they sort of tell you, congrats on making it this far, but it's not done yet. And this isn't the final team. So then it kind of goes back into the draw pool, the 46. And you don't actually know if you've made the world's team until I think it was November, you get the call. So I was fortunate enough to get that call in November and then head to Japan in January for worlds.
How'd you deal with all the, I guess, the pressure of trying to make that team, especially since it was such a long process, like you just described?
Yeah, I mean, probably the most nerve-wracking thing is just that there were Team Canada scouts at I think like every single weekend of our games. So it's just like having to always be on your game, and like I think we did my team like we had 4 of us that ended up going to the Worlds from my Pursuit of Excellence team. So I think we did a good job of sort of like helping each other out and calming each other down and just working together and trying to just have fun with it and not think too much about it.
Now, one thing I've noticed about you is you got to play hockey in many cool places. One of those places was Japan. What's it like playing hockey in Japan?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'd never been over to Japan or anything, so that was a new experience. We flew into like a smaller sort of city, and our first week we were there was small. I forget the name of it. And then, but then our tournament was in Obihiro, which is a bit of a bigger city. So, I mean, we did see a lot of the rink in the hotel, but of what we were able to see walking around, it was pretty cool. And yeah, cool to be there and see the sights.
What'd you do that was pretty interesting in Japan, since it's like a once in a lifetime experience for some people?
Yeah, probably the coolest thing that our team did is we went to like a Japanese shrine, and it was just like really cool seeing some of their culture and learning a bit about it and taking a break from like the hockey aspect for a few hours and seeing something else about the culture there.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's not like, I think for most people, at least for myself, when you think of Japan, you just think of Tokyo, but you don't think of the other cities and towns that are around it. So that's cool that you got to experience something like that, that most people don't really get to experience in their lifetime.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really fortunate.
Now, you won a gold medal in that tournament. What does that gold medal mean to you, and where do you keep it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really great tournament, and every game was like super exciting and fun to play in. But that medal is in my room at home. I kind of keep it there. I don't really want to travel with it or anything. Don't want to lose that.
Oh,
But I mean,
definitely.
it's pretty special. It just like is kind of a token of like all the hard work that's gone into like some of the past of my hockey, I guess.
Yeah. And transitioning now, let's talk about your recruiting process. What was that like for yourself, and why did you choose to go to Penn State?
Yeah, I actually committed kind of late. I think I committed in my like around Christmas of my grade 11 year. But for me, I sort of just waited out because I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go and I wanted to visit quite a few schools before I decided. But um, of the ones I visited, Penn State just really stuck out to me when I was on the campus. I just really loved it and kind of knew that that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah. And what was the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey? Was it the speed of the game, or was it kind of the physicality playing against players that were 4 or 5 years older than you were?
Yeah, I would say it's a bit of both, but probably more so the physicality. It was just definitely you could tell that the girls were stronger and such.
Now, what's it like to play under Coach Camperstall, and what have you learned under him so far?
Yeah, Coach Camperstall's a really great coach and a great human. He really cares about all of us, and I think that's pretty special to have a coach that cares about his team as much as he does. And he's pretty good at giving feedback and that sort of thing. So I've been lucky to have him so far.
Yeah, and since Penn State's kind of a relatively new D1 program, I think they've only been around for 6 or 7 years. What role do you want to play in trying to grow the program to a successful D1 hockey program in the future? And where do you see the program 3 or 4 years after you graduate?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, part of the reason I also committed to Penn State was just because I saw it as a place where I thought that I could make a difference in the program. So, with that being said, like I'm just hoping that each year we can keep climbing up the rankings and hopefully set it up just to be in a really great spot when I leave.
Now, in your freshman year, you lost to Mercyhurst in the CHA playoffs. What did you learn from your first playoff experience that has helped you now for this season?
Yeah, I think what that really showed was that one game can really make a difference, and that you sort of just have to leave it all out there and always be on your game. So I think taking that into this year, just knowing that every game counts and sort of playing every game like it's that do or die game.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I noticed that you played in Sweden over the summer. Talk about that experience and how'd you get the opportunity to play there? Because I kind of, from the men's side perspective, I know some players decided to go pro to Sweden or Finland or other European countries just because they didn't know if there was going to be a college hockey season or not, and they wanted to get some playing time for pros. What made you want to go to Sweden during your sophomore year of college and try to get some of pro hockey experience under your belt? I guess.
Yeah, so for me, I guess it was just being unsure of whether or not we were gonna have a season, and then if we did have a season, like if we would lose a year of eligibility. And I didn't really want to lose a year of eligibility only playing like not a full season of games. So with not knowing that, I kind of just took the risk and decided in August, I guess, that I was going to go to Sweden in September. And yeah, going there was pretty cool. Like, I'm glad I went. I'm also glad to be back here now, but I think it was a pretty cool experience just like seeing that part of the world and playing with a bunch of people from over there as well.
You get an extra year of eligibility though. I think all college hockey players do, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's in part why I kind of decided to come back, just because then I found out that I wouldn't lose a year, but obviously like the semester was already started at that point, so had to wait till the second semester.
Yeah. Now playing in Sweden, what's it like there now? Because I know it's a bit different with all the COVID regulations. Is it a little bit different than the U.S. or is it kind of similar in that aspect?
Yeah, so actually when I went to Sweden, it was completely different in the sense that they did not wear masks at all. So like
Wow.
if you wore a mask there, people like looked at you weird. It was like, oh, they're sick for sure, like they're wearing a mask. So that was definitely different. Like no one wore masks and everything was open, at least when I was there to start. And then after I was there for like I think 2 months, and right before I came back, our season actually got put on pause because COVID cases were like rising a ton. So yeah, it kind of did a shift, but no one wore masks there at all, which was really different. I still don't know if they do, but I think their COVID numbers just started getting really high. So then things got started to shut down.
Yeah, didn't Sweden take like a different approach to the whole COVID thing? Like they didn't shut anything down. They did like the herd immunity thing, if I'm not mistaken on that as well.
Yeah, I believe that's what they did as well. And I think they thought it was working for the first, like, probably half a year. And then I guess it kind of took a turn on it. And now it wasn't working so well. So they had to start shutting a bunch of the leagues down and such. But I was fortunate to get there and play the games while I did.
Yeah,
Sort of all
definitely.
worked out.
Did you get to do anything cool there? Like I know Sweden is known for its meatballs. Did you get to experience some kind of weird culture shock, I guess?
Um, a little bit. Like I did go to IKEA there, which obviously like there's IKEAs in North America. There's one in Calgary, so like I've been to it a few times, but it was kind of interesting like being to one in Sweden and seeing it there. I actually did have meatballs there. So
Yeah.
yeah, but other than that, my team actually had a lot of the Team Denmark girls on it, and so they would just like I was in Malmo, which is literally the bridge across from Copenhagen, so it's about like 20 minutes to get over. So a couple of the girls on my team like took me and the other Canadian over for a day, and we went to Copenhagen and just sort of saw that part
That's
of
awesome.
Denmark.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know Sweden, they have a much bigger ice surface than here in America. Was that an adjustment for yourself?
Yeah, I actually love international ice just because I am like more of a skater, and so I actually really enjoy it just because there's more time and space, and you can be more creative just with the space you have on the ice.
Now, another thing I noticed about Sweden hockey is they have a ton of advertisements on the jerseys. What's your thoughts on that? Because as a viewer, it's kind of weird to see, and I know the NHL or some other teams might adapt to it just because of the whole financial situation going around in pro hockey.
Yeah, I mean, our jerseys definitely had a lot of ads on them, and our pants too. They have like the ads on the pants as well. And I mean, it's kind of weird at first, but you get used to it pretty quick, and I don't mind the look of it. It's kind of interesting.
Now, was there any adjustment for yourself coming back to Penn State after being in Sweden, or was it kind of just full go? You kind of understood everything. Well, I think because it would have been different if you were like a freshman or something like that.
Yeah, I think it definitely helped that I had played last year just because of a lot of our systems and such, and like how we train and that sort of stuff is still the same. So it wasn't as big of a shock, but yeah, it wasn't too bad coming back.
Now, I want to ask you about some of the teammates you get to play with. One of them is Natalie Heising. What's it like to play with her, and what is she like as a teammate, both on and off the ice?
Yeah, Nat, she's like loves the game and is a really great captain for us. I mean, she works extremely hard on the ice, off the ice, and really just wants the best for the group. So it's been really great, like being able to play with her and be around her for the last, I guess, year and a half.
You also get to play with Mallory Uline. What's it like playing with her?
Yeah, Mal was actually my roommate last year, so saw a lot of her around. But she's a great person and great player. Lucky to play with her as well. She sees the ice really well and has been really great for Penn State.
Now, two freshmen that I've noticed a lot watching Penn State hockey is Lindy Lobdell and Kiara Zanen. What's it like to play with those two players? And just talk about the skill they have on the ice as well.
Yeah, no, they're both like also extremely hard workers, and you can tell they really love the game. And it's been our whole freshman class, honestly, has been a great addition. They all work really hard, but Kiara has like great hockey sense, great skill, great skating, and she's like fun to watch and play with. And Lindy as well, like handles the puck really well and is just a really great addition to our defensive core. So yeah, we're really lucky to play with them. I played against Kiara in Japan for Worlds that year as well. So I kind of like knew of her, and Mal was there as well. So Mallory and Kiara were both there that year. So it was kind of cool to play against them before I played with them.
Yeah, definitely. Was there something you noticed about their games when you played with them or played against them in Japan that you've noticed now? And how have you, I guess, adapted to some of their skills? And how has that helped your hockey development a little bit, I guess?
Um, yeah, I mean, they're really great to play against and even better to play with just because I can kind of feed off of them and learn things from them. We can work together and stuff now. So it's been really great to play with them and against them.
We're now in the non-hockey segment of the podcast where I ask you some non-hockey questions. My first question is, what music do you like to listen to?
Well, I like to listen to a lot of different types of music, but my favorite is probably like country right now.
Nice. Now, what's your favorite TV show to watch?
Right now I've been kind of watching The Blacklist and The 100, so they're both pretty interesting.
What's The Blacklist about?
It's kind of like a crime show about this guy who's like a criminal but helps the FBI catch people, I guess.
Oh, nice. That's interesting. I've never heard of it before. I was just curious. Now, speaking of your teammates, who's the funniest on the team?
Oh, I think Julie Goff is pretty funny. I live with her as well, so like I see a lot of her, but I'm always laughing around her, so I'd say her.
Now, you obviously have the best style on the team, but besides yourself, who else has the best style?
Um, I'd probably say Mallory Uline.
Now, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, that's a tough one. I honestly don't know. That's a tough question.
I think for me, since I'm an East Coast kid, it's slow drivers that really irks me a little bit, especially on the highway when you're trying to get someplace and someone's going like under the speed limit. It's like, if you're lost, you got to figure it out, buddy. Like, I don't know what to say. So that definitely pisses me off a little
Yeah,
bit.
I can definitely agree with that. I'm not a fan of slow drivers either.
And another thing is probably people who don't cover their mouth when they sneeze, especially during Corona times. That's disgusting. So,
Oh, that actually is one I have right now. It's like, especially people in airports, like, because I've been in quite a few airports because of traveling to like Sweden and back and then such. But people who don't like wear their mask properly, like they wear it like at their mouth, and I just hate it. I'm like, just please
yeah.
pull it off.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And that even before Corona, though, if you weren't covering your mouth when you cough or sneeze, just it's gross. I don't understand why people would do that. It happened a lot too. You think like people would know like to cover their mouths, but I guess not. So that's just another thing that irks me a little bit.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Now, final non-hockey question is: if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Huh. That's a tough question. I think I'd probably go with Connor McDavid just because I think he'd be an interesting guy to talk to, like just about hockey and such. And I mean, obviously, he's unreal, so that would be pretty cool.
What's your thoughts on that goal he scored a few nights ago? My jaw just dropped after seeing that. He
Yeah.
just went by like four defenders and he sneaked up, woo, woo, and then like the goalie went that way and he just like shot it out. It was awesome.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's insane because it doesn't even like he's going so fast and he just like maneuvers through players and they just don't touch him. Like it's insane.
Yeah, he makes it look so easy, and just the speed of his game is incredible to watch.
Yeah, and it seems like he finishes like every time he has a chance like that, it's like in the net for sure. So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool to watch.
I had the pleasure of watching Connor McDavid last year, right before this whole Corona thing got started, and I was wanting to go to warmups. I usually don't go to warmups before games, but I wanted to go early just to see him up close for warmups, and it was so cool seeing him right in front of me in the glass. I took some photos, so that was a really cool experience for me. And just seeing him up close and just seeing the skill that he has is really eye opening because it's a lot different watching it from TV than watching it in person.
Yeah, I saw him play live in Anaheim actually like 2 years ago, I guess. So I can agree with that. It was pretty cool to watch.
I think the other player that was the best player to watch just in person was Ovechkin, just because he had so much speed, but his shot was insane. Like that one timer is just so much fun to watch, and he's a very interesting person to talk to, I guess, because I've seen some of the interviews he's done. So that would be a cool for me, like if I could have lunch with someone, because I can learn about hockey, I can have a good laugh, and then we can do something fun afterwards. So just like the whole experience would be a lot fun.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Now back to some hockey questions. Now my first one is, what should be done to help grow the women's game grow?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it would be really cool if the leagues, because I know there's a couple leagues right now that are trying to
Yeah, there's
promote
a lot
the.
of controversy going around with the NWHL.
Yeah, I know. I wish that they would just be able to like agree on something and make one league. And like, I know the NHL at one point was trying to back them, like if they came together, and then it just didn't end up working out. So I guess I think it would just be really great for the game if they were able to come to an agreement and work together.
Yeah, definitely. And I've talked to one player from the PWHPA, and they were saying like the NHL and the NHL won't back a league if it's like they want like a one unified league. And right now there's like three of them, I guess. So that's why they haven't backed it up yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know a few players that play in the PWHPA, so I've heard sort of the same things, and hopefully they can figure it out sooner than later so that the game can start growing even more.
Yeah, and is there something that should be done at the youth level? And what mindset do people have to change in order to help the women's game grow? Because I think that's something that people don't talk about is people, I guess, have a certain mindset towards women's hockey versus men's hockey. What has to change with that?
Yeah, I think it would honestly just help to have like more female role models, like just like around the younger population, and like I think that would definitely help, just giving them like kind of a glimpse of what they can get to. And I guess just like making it more normal, girls hockey in general, because I know like a lot of girls thought like, oh, you have to play guys hockey to like get anywhere in hockey. And like I know for me, like I think I was I think I was the only girl that was on that Team Canada team the year I went to Japan that did not grow up playing guys hockey. So I think it's just like being able to let girls know that you don't have to play guys hockey, and that you can play girls hockey and still like make it to play college or wherever you're wanting to play.
How does Penn State market your team versus the men's team? Because I know both are very popular on campus, but I know the women's team is a top 10 ranked team, and I'm pretty sure the men's team didn't even receive a vote for the top 20 ranking. So how do they market you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we're both obviously on social media, and the guys have a lot more followers, so um, they, I guess, just get seen more from that. But I think marketing wise, they try and do it pretty equally. Like there's signs around campus or around the rink, and they put both the men's and the women's teams up there. So yeah, I think they do a good job at trying to get us all out there.
Yeah, I think they do a great job too. It's awesome going to school where both the men's and women's teams are very successful. I know Penn State's one of the few, one of the, not just the few, but one of the schools that has that. So I think that's pretty cool to be a part of that atmosphere, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree.
Now, what should I do better as an interviewer to improve this podcast and make this platform better?
I mean, I think it's cool what you're doing, and just like getting the opinions of a bunch of other people and sort of getting their stories. And I think even just like talking, especially like for the girls game, talking to like girls and getting that out there is super awesome, and like helps bring light to a bunch of girls and their stories with hockey.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the kind words. Is there any shout outs you like to give to your family members, teammates, or anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, like definitely a shout out to my family. They're like my biggest supporters, my grandparents, super supportive, and then just my whole team. They've been honestly like so great this year, and I can't wait for what's next for us.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Rachel. I really appreciate it. I wish you all the best for this upcoming season. I know you're going to kill it, and you're already killing it. You're one of the most underappreciated players in the CHA, and I wholeheartedly mean that. I hope you get more recognition in the future, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish in the future as well. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
very
on.
much. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It was great.
No problem. Take care. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bye bye.